Hello, hello, hello. This is Yolanda Hinton, and we are here. We want to welcome our platform. We're on Facebook Live, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. I host FYI Morning Show Live along with Edward Everett, aka Mr. E. And we have a fabulous show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:30 a.m. We're on Peace 95.3 FM, WGPL 1350 AM, WPCE 1400, WMBA 88.9 FM, Facebook Live, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. We just want to welcome you all here. Thank you so much for your support. We also want to welcome our sponsors, bulvicacademy.com. That's BULVIC Academy.com. Make sure you check out the website along with our second sponsor, beardgods.com, BEARDGODZ.com. Check out Chris Hinton's wonderful website with some great things for men. Make sure you're looking good. Make sure your beard looks good. Your hair is good. He has all kind of products. And also he's has a wonderful Valentine's Day special for you all ladies. If you want something special for your husband, for your man, your boyfriend, just a brother, uncle, cousin, grandpa, daddy, check him out. That's beardgods.com, BEARDGODZ.com. And we would appreciate you visiting our sponsors. Also, we want you to visit us on our website or our platform on YouTube. That's Cristo Records One, CRISTO Records One, and also FYI Radio Show host Yolanda Hinton. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. We would really appreciate you and you being a part of what we do. We really appreciate when you come on, when you chat with us. As a matter of fact, this evening, when we are talking and having our discussion, make sure you talk in our chat. Make sure you let us know how you feel about the conversation. If you have any questions, please, please, please make sure you put it in our chat, and we'll be glad to make sure we can answer to the best of our ability. We have a wonderful guest today. I am so excited about him being on. He's been on our morning show several times. He's one of my favorite guests, and he's here to talk with us about some great things, important things. And we have Dr. Hezekiah Brown. He is the author of Conflict Resolution and the Case for Reparations. Good evening, Dr. Brown.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good. You and yours. How are you all doing?
We are surviving in this difficult world, but we get through everything.
Absolutely. We have to get through it. We have to go, continue to go forth. That's the only thing we can do. We're here and we're responsible for continue to keep our everyday life going and going as well as we can get it to go. I want to talk to you this evening about your two books, but I want to start off first with Black History Month. I want to ask you a few things. First of all, about how you feel about this month when it comes around every February. Tell us the feeling you get as we get into this particular month of Black History.
Well, I certainly, first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me back. I am thrilled to be on this great show that you guys have here, because just to give some information that people don't get, and I'll give you one illustration. I talk to several people from time to time, and they all say, I never heard of conflict resolution. What are you talking about? What it is? So that's something people really don't know about. So tonight we want to try to make sure that we explain to people what it is. Now, talk about Black history. I live Black history. I lived that. I am old enough to remember when you had to drink out of a water fountain, one said color and one said white. And when you ride the bus, you had to ride in the back of the bus And if seats were empty in the front, you still had to ride in the back of the bus because of the color of your skin. If you rode a bus from down south, Alabama, where I came from, you had to sit in the back of the bus no matter what. But I lived through this systemic racism that have gone on most of my life, and I just enjoy the month of February. I look forward to it every year. I look forward to Women's History Month every year. But I'm just saying is that we have to do a better job in educating our young people about Black history, what it really is, and what it means to them. As a matter of fact, I might be able to tonight to talk a little bit about what I'm doing to kind of put that into some perspective in terms of how do we preserve our history, because our history has really, the real history have really been destroyed because so many things that we use today, they were all invented by Black folks. But because of systemic racism, they never got credit for what they really built and what they created over a period of time. And a lot of that still go on today. But I am thrilled every year to talk on the radio and the television. I write about these things, about what Black history really means to us, because we know that we're not going to get the Black history in the schools.
Yes.
So I am urging and suggesting what people should do in the churches, in the community centers, in families everywhere. We start to teach our own kids Black history rather than waiting on someone else to do it. Because if we wait on someone else to do it, it's going to always be something legislatively that they have to do, something they turn down. It's according to who's in office. But I think that we have to start to encourage pastors in church to take the time, open up the door on Saturday morning, in the evening, or whatever, and just have a Black history program. Not only those who are dead, but those who are still alive.
Yes. Dr. Brown, how far have we come as African American people? I heard you mention, the time when you couldn't, sit where you want to on the bus, and the racism was just strong and hard and just critical. Let's fast forward to where we are now. Are we still going through these challenges? How far have we come as African Americans?
Well, I think we have came a long ways from where I was. See, I'm old enough to remember these things and live through these things, but there are a lot of people who never lived. They just read about it and talk about it.
Yes.
But I'm just saying that I want to go back a little bit. When the slave owners, when they went to Africa to get people to bring them to America, they picked the best of the best. Do you know they would look at people, they would examine them, they would examine their teeth, they would examine their body. If they had a fever, if they were frail and feeble, they didn't bring those. They bought only the best of the best. And just think about it. They had to be change each other in the bottom of a ship, no place to relieve themselves. All these things happen during that period of time. And then a lot of people who left Africa never survived. So out of 4 million people that left, only 2 million survived. And then when they came here, they was very good. Now, we are seeing now the results of the best of the best, because our people are growing, they flowing, they doing all these things that we never thought we could do. I mean, we are way ahead of where we are. Now, the problem is, and I want to get into the political part of it too. The problem is now we were moving so fast, all right, until the powers that be said, well, wait a minute, they're going too fast. They're only 13% of the population. We can't let them be the president of the United States. We can't let them be Speaker of the House, so we have to cut them back. And now we are struggling just to try to maintain what people have died for, what they have passed legislation for over a period of time. And now we are going to be set back 50 years or more based on some of the things that we see happening now in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. It is a critical time now as well. I like what you said about teaching our children, though. I heard recently that the powers that be wanted to kind of like do away with talking about Black history and some other things concerning the Holocaust. And I said, it's still up to us to make sure our children get the education, get our history, and get the hope that was given to us. Even in critical times, we still had hope. We still had the ability to see light, to see God, and to keep going, to fight. And this is what we're going to have to instill in our children. I love that when you said that we would have to continue to educate them and let them know who they are, whose they are, and where they have come from, and that we are mighty people, and we will continue if we continue to fight. Let's talk about your books, because I've read both of them. I have both of them. I don't know where to start. I think I want to start with The Case for Reparation. Mm-hmm. And tell us about that book and what inspired you to write that book.
Well, I think what inspired me to write this book was the fact that I saw things that were going on, and I saw a lot of reparation taking place. They just didn't call it reparation in a sense. But what's most important about my book is the fact that I give recommendations. A lot of folks write and they tell you what the problem is and never offer solutions. Let me just give you a few of the things here in terms of what my recommendations were. My first recommendation in terms of reparation was to teach African-American history, make it mandatory as part of the school curriculum. All right? And what's the reason for that? A lot of white students, at least 50% of the white students in this country today, can go K through 12 without ever making any contact with the African Americans, or as we call ourselves, Black. They never contact with them. So they grow up hating and disliking us based on what their parents teach them. Yeah. Because all of this teaching now about African Americans, they're not born hating people, but this is what their parents are continuing to teach and accuse us of hating people. They still teaching kids that African American is less than human, they dumb, they stupid, and they should not be in this country. This is what they still today are teaching their kids. But now if kids went to school together and they were teaching African American history and everybody heard the same thing, it wouldn't offend anybody because it's all factual, okay? That's the number one issue that I've talked about in my book. The second one is about equal funding for schools. Mm-hmm. There are schools now that reduce 5% of what other schools, money allocated for other schools. And those are the things that I'm saying that's important to us. If we had just equal funding for our schools, I think we would do, at least I know we would do a lot better. But the other one is, one of the most significant programs they ever had in this country was the after-school programs, all right? In after-school programs, kids go to a structured environment. If they go home, they go to unstructured environment. They go home and they go out to play, they watch TV. But when you go to a structured school program where you, number one, have to study, number one, you have to do your homework, number two, you learn so many things in the structured program. Yes. These programs, after school program, were some of the best programs available for our students and our kids. And these are the places they're talking about cutting money out of the funds for that. We need to really work hard on funding HBCUs as a part of reparation. And the beat goes on, just a few of the things that I recommended that we should do in order to somewhat level the playing field for African American. But the key one is a Head Start program. When our kids start to learn, Head Start, learn how to write their name, learn how to read, learn these things in an early age in life, it set the stage for them to be better even when they enter regular schools or on a day-to-day basis. And these are the programs that I really think that we have to rebuild people. Yes. And the way to rebuild people is to invest in our people, invest in our community. Let me just give you one illustration of what I'm saying. And where in this country, under the Biden administration, they passed a $1.3 trillion bill to rebuild roadways, highways, and byways and everything. Yes. And I'm not against that. I think all of that was great. But they didn't spend one single dollar on rebuilding people. And we have to invest in people. We have to rebuild people. We have to rebuild families because that's where we are now. So I'm saying that I believe that if we could influence the powers to be somewhere or raise the money to be able to start to teach our kids what we know they really need. And I have to go back to what I was saying before. If they don't do it, it doesn't mean we can't have it. We got some of the smartest people in the world walking around doing a lot of nothing. And you just in churches, you got people sitting in that seat who could teach kids anything they need to be. So I'm saying we have to come up with a strategic plan as to not let politicians, not let legislation stop us from getting where we want to go, because we can do it ourselves. We got to quit waiting on the man to do this. We have to start to get involved in entrepreneurship, because what the kids see is what they will be. And the reason we have such a small amount of folks who are entrepreneurs now is because they don't see many of us. Other people move into our community and don't live there and take the money out of the community. It's the same thing that we should start to do. We have to do.
Absolutely. That is a thought that I just had as you talk about we ourselves making sure we get the things that we need. Like I was saying, and you were saying earlier, educating our children, looking for opportunities to be owners of businesses, and also, making sure we look at the value in us, our potential, and where we've come from, and see that we can command a whole lot of things. We are where we are because we have commanded that we have places to live just like anybody else, or we command jobs, and even though, things are some, like you said, that equity, things still seem a little bit leaning toward, others, we still have the power to do a lot of things. We have the power to vote. We should take advantage of those things. We have the power to achieve wealth. We need to take advantage of those things. Education is at our fingertips, and the things that people won't allow you to do, you can do at home. You can teach your children. You have the power. We have the power to do a lot of things if we only believe. Can you tell me, Dr. Brown, what does reparations look like? We used to talk and laugh about 40 acres and a mule. Could you tell us what reparations would actually look like if we, sat down at the table and say, look, this is what we want, this, and this?
Yes, I think that what we have to do is, again, come up with our own plan, all right, in terms of what we think reparation might mean one thing in California, and it might mean another thing here in other places. But I'm saying the most important thing that I think that we have to do in reparation is rebuild our families. Because, during slavery, if you recall, during slavery, they didn't care about the family. They would sell off a father who was muscular. They would sell off a child. They would sell off a mother. They destroyed our families during the time. So what I'm saying now, the first thing I have to do is, how do we rebuild those families? How do we deal with the economics of what is going on? For example, most of the Ivy League schools benefited from slavery.
Yes.
And we start talking about education. There are some colleges now who are doing some things to try to level the playing field. But that should be a what I call a real effort on free education for African Americans as part of reparation. That you could go to those same schools who still exist today because of slavery. I don't know if people know it, but you take the White House, it was slaves who built the White House. It was slaves who built most of those buildings you still see in Washington today. It was the slaves who built those. So I'm saying we need to be repaid. Now you take a lot of companies today that they started out during slavery. Mm-hmm. And they have grown to no end today. So I'm saying these companies should be sharing in education, put money in educating people who helped them along the line. Some of the banks, like Bank of America, you know, they existed during slavery. Some of the railroads. A lot of these things are people are benefiting now. They should do. Now, that's number two. But the third one is to look at entrepreneurship. Yes. You know, entrepreneurship is where America is now and where it will always be. And where I came from in Alabama, you know, when during segregation, a lot of Black folks benefited from it because they couldn't go into white stores in a sense. And so what happened is we had everything we needed in our community: the stores, the small stores, the blacksmith. We had all these things. People coming around selling vegetables. They had all these things, but somehow or other, this is where we lost that. We lost the whole fact in terms of the importance of owning your own business. Now, some people say, well, you know, people come from other countries and they can get loans. You know, we started a business, Yolanda, with $500 and a dream. And it doesn't take a lot of money to start a business. It takes a little money to start a business, but you have to try to grow your business. You know, sometimes you might not even need a loan from the bank. We never got a loan from the bank for our company. And our company at one point, you know, got to be pretty prominent. As a matter of fact, in the state of New York, we had the best company offering the service that we offered in the state of New York. Yeah. So I'm saying that we have to teach entrepreneurship in the church, in the community, but in the family, but say how important it is. Because there's some people, well, I don't want to go in business because you got to work 18 hours a day. Yeah, some people still work 18 hours a day, but they were hourly for doing it. But entrepreneurship is a key point in reparation. And some of these companies and some of these universities who benefit, some of those Wall Street places that benefit now, you know, I say if a person bring to them a good business plan, I'm not saying that you decide you want to lay carpet, you know, and you lay carpet in a few houses, and then you say we have a business. There's a process and procedure you have to go through. You got to have a business plan. But if we have a business plan and go to some of these companies and say, look, I have a business plan, and this is what I want to do. You know what you're doing? That's how you help rebuild the community. That's what reparation is, giving back, you know, for those who was destroyed and what their families were destroyed. They never had an opportunity. They invented all these things that they never got credit for. So that's where we have to focus in terms of that itself, I think.
Absolutely. Can you talk about other countries that have received reparations or benefited from reparations?
I don't know of any country, but I know one thing, that places like Portugal, you know, they had more slaves than anybody. Mm-hmm. And itself, when we talk, but when we start talking about other countries, mm-hmm. when I talk about in my book that reparations should be universal, because it didn't happen here. Because what happened even in the Caribbean, you know, they dropped off slaves in the Caribbean on the way here. So in Portugal, you know, in Europe, all these places, they had slaves. So mine goes as far as saying that, you know, we should have. Now, the reason I say this, the United Nations passed a resolution that we should have a reparation. Yeah. They have offered apologies. The government have offered apologies. Presidents offered apologies. Congress offered apology for slavery, but they're unwilling to invest anything in slavery. Now, California, of course, is doing pretty well in that. And there, as I said, there are some colleges and universities who are doing some things, but not enough. Now, in other words, but there is some reparation that's going on. We don't call it that. You know, Jeff Bezos, his wife, you know, they divorced. Yeah. And what happened is, she has been given some $3 or $4, I don't know, $1 billion a year to places. You know, for example, where I was in Elizabeth City, she gave every HBCU anywhere from $10 to $50 million. Some of it money that they never ever thought that they would see that kind of money. All right. But what I'm saying is there are companies outside of here in London who gave HBCUs money in a sense. So there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of things for that. There are Black folks who I say is part of reparation who are successful. You know, there was one guy who, I can't think of his name now, but he paid off all of the student loans for students at Morgan State University. Yes. Now, I call this reparation. And if and I have a whole list of people that's in my book to talk about those who gave back to the community, what reparation really is and what it looked like and what we should be doing.
Absolutely. Dr. Brown, do you think this is a test for African-American people in the atmosphere, what we're living in now, the times we're living in, people talking about DEI and affirmative action and going away in certain programs? Do you think it is a test for us to see that we are strong enough to make it through all of those things, and that we have to begin to build family again and businesses? Is this a test to show us what we are, who we are?
Yeah, I think it's a test, but what I'm saying is that this is no different from what happened before. For example, if you look at the legislative body of this country from 1865 up until today, there were all kind of bills passed on housing, on you name it, on anything that was done unequal. They're all things that were done, but they hasn't been enforced, or they was watered down. You know what I mean? So the bills on the book now about voting, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment says give us all we need in terms of voting rights, housing, all these things. So I'm saying it's already on the book. It's just a matter of enforcing what's already on the book. Now, I think in today's world, it's a test to us. It's a test to see how smart we are. For example, I believe that if we could get a universal approach strategically in terms of what our plans are going to be, I don't think that we should just lie down and say, man, how bad it is. Oh man, it ain't gonna get that. They're gonna get us and all that. I think because this is a time for educating people about voting. This is a time to educate people about education. It's to show you what systemic racism really is. It's always been here to stay. It never disappeared, but now it's out in the open. And some of those people who thought that, oh no, things have changed, things haven't changed. So it's a matter of us because we got the skill and ability to do exactly what I'm saying. But we have to start to educate. And the first place to start educating is to start at home, educating your children, sitting talking to your children. And if they're not doing it, your cousins, your neighbors, and all these things, educating people about the system that we work on. Many of people never even knew what voting was. They refuse to vote because it's not going to help me. It's not going to do any good, So they reluctant and shied away from voting. But what I'm saying is that we have to start to educating our people in terms of, for example, a lot of folks say, well, they're not going to stop this. Medicaid, we safe. They're not going. They can't do it, or they won't do it. But a lot of those people who was unable, didn't go to the poll, and they're now coming after Medicaid. And Medicaid is better than Medicare. In Medicaid, you get prescription drugs, you get dental, and you don't have to pay any copay, all these things. So I'm saying that the people that's enjoying these are most of the ones who stay away. We have to go into these places and educate these people and say, look, if you don't do X, Y, Z, this is what you're going to lose. Because they don't know. They think it comes automatic. They think it right. It gave it to us years ago. But that's what we have to do. It all has to do with educating and organizing people. We should be right now, not waiting until 3 months before the election. We should be raising people to vote now. All right. Yes. And then we educate them after they vote. Then we educate them as to why they should vote. So this is what it's some work that we have to do, because I think what this has proved to the world is that you can't wait on somebody all the time to give you something, that we have to fight for it, and we have to organize, and we have to be sincere, and we have to teach our young people about what it is. Look at what they did, even with the student loans, So I'm saying that there were a lot of people who benefited while Biden was in, but you can forget about anything happening with student loans in the next 4 years. If anything, you're going to see them cut it out. That's what it. Can you imagine getting rid of the Department of Education, you know?
Absolutely.
And can you imagine them? And I think it's going to pass where they're going to pass a bill that they will be able to fund kids who go to private school, which will further exacerbate the whole world in terms of systemic racism. Yes. They go right back to where we were before. You know, I don't know if you know it, but I was in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957. My company was the first one to arrive there, and that was to integrate the Little Rock High School.
Yes.
And kids wanted to go to Little Rock High School because they offered the best program. They didn't want to go to integrate. They was looking for the best program.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's true. Let's talk about the vote for a minute. How strong is our vote as African-American people? Are we falling away from voting, or are we encouraged to know that our vote counts?
Well, you see, the reason our vote counts is because we are split up. You know, one time, you know, they could always go to the African-American community who was in the hood, and they could try to get those votes. But see, our people are spread out now.
Yes.
Our people don't just live in the intercity; they live in the suburbs. And prime example is Atlanta. You know, they couldn't tell how many black voted, how you voted, because they live all over the place. When you look at places like Maryland, you know, it's a lot of places that have a whole cadre of people who vote. And so, for the president of the United States, it's a little bit different. But for the Senate, for the House, in those places, yes, our vote can count. Yeah,
absolutely. We did a segment on our morning show talking about what women are saying after the election, and some African-American women are saying, "Listen, we're backing off some things, and we're going to let you all go ahead and fight the fight. We've tried. We were 90% voting for who we thought was the right candidate. And we see that, you know, fighting for others kind of like left us weary and kind of discouraged. You know, how do we get people not to feel that sense of hopelessness when the cause is so great?
Well, the one other thing that I have to say too, we have to build coalitions, you know, because this group now, they are focused only on one thing. All right. Mm-hmm. And they're focused on not building other people up. They're focusing on putting people down. All right. And they put a lot of people down. HBC, they put down so many organizations. So we have to build coalitions. You know, for example, this is just the gospel of Hez Brown. You know, they rock the Hispanic community to sleep. All right. Mm-hmm. They had Hispanic people saying, well, we came here the right way, you know, and so we want to keep those other folks out. You know what I mean? Yes. They don't understand now all these things are going to have an adverse effect on them too, you know, because a lot of their vote bought in the president in those states, you know. So I'm saying that we have to build coalition with other groups and other people and other races, you know. And then we come in with a block vote, not just from the black community, but it come in with a coalition of voters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want folk to know where they can get your book. And we're going to talk about the other book as well. But where can they get your book?
All they have to do is just take this my email address number down at HEZ38@AOL.com. Call me at 516-815-8679. The book is on Amazon. You know, you can get it from there. But most of all, I'm saying, let me repeat this again: HEZ38@AOL.com, and then 516-815-8679. Because one of the things I left out in the book, left out in my discussion today, is that I went back and researched for the Irish, the Italians, and the Jews.
Yes.
And it's part of my book. It's all how they struggled, I felt the struggle when they came here to America. A lot of them suffered, but one thing they had that we don't have, they were able to cross-marry, they were able to intermarry or cross-live. They even changed their names so it wouldn't sound, you know, Polish, or it wouldn't sound Italian. they did all these things, but because they were white, they was able to integrate into the community. However, black folks never had the same thing, because when all of them turned against the black folks, because they were all better than the black folks, but then they themselves kind of molded together in a sense, and then turned and looked down on the African American people because of the color of their skin. Right?
Wow. I tell you what, I love this book. I want to encourage you all to get it, The Case for Reparations. And we're going to get that information a little bit later after we discuss Dr. Hez Brown's second book. Oh, I love this book too. Woo, Conflict Resolution. How in the world? I mean, and I think you said it earlier, a lot of people don't know about conflict resolution. You know, it's kind of foreign to some folk, but let's talk about that book. Tell us what inspired that book. It goes along with what you do and what you have done throughout your career as a mediator and arbitrator. I love your story about, some of the places that you've gone to and some of the issues that had to be resolved in the workplace and things like that. Please tell us about this book and what inspired it.
Well, that was a book that inspired, that I wrote. That was the first one. I completed another book on conflict resolution for the things that I left out in the first one. But my wife had always said to me, said, you need to write a book. You know what I mean? You need to tell a story about conflict resolution because people don't know it. It's amazing how there's so much hatred and people disliking people because of the color of the skin, because of whatever race they belong to. This is growing even more so now than ever. So we have to find some ways and means to bring people together. And as you know, I worked in the field labor relations for over 50 years. I celebrated 50 years in 2003 of being a peacemaker, a mediator, an arbitrator, a consultant, all these things here. And I saw it from almost every perspective.
Yes.
So my first book, certainly I was not able to get, your first book don't always give you what you think you want, what you need to know. But then as you go on, you learn to do it better and learn to do it differently. But now, these times now is more important than ever. Yes. That we learn to resolve disputes. You know why? Because it is us who are killing each other. It's our young people who don't understand that they can easily sit down with people at a table, no matter if it's gangs or whatever it is. You can sit down and not want to kill somebody. Because in that book, it's some things it talks about that's so simple. You know what the number one is with young people? That it's three things that the young people could just think about and use. Number one, most young people feel that it's unmanlike to apologize when you did something wrong.
Wow. We
have to teach our kids there's nothing wrong with apologizing. It would save a mass of young people if you would learn how to apologize if you did something wrong.
Yes.
The second one is you have to understand and show compassion for other people. Do you know that most of the drive-by shootings and most of the things that take place in our community now, the kids know each other, they know their mother, father, sister, and brother, but they have no compassion. And so they don't understand when you kill the brother or the sister of somebody, that it just doesn't affect them, it affects the entire family.
Yes.
They don't understand that. We have to explain to them this thing about compassion. And the third thing is, they have to learn, we have to teach people the importance of forgiving. Yes. Our people, some people say, well, you get me one time, that's it, that's the end of it. But we have to start to teach our kids it's okay to forgive. You forgive people because it's helped you more than it helped them when you forgive.
Yes.
So those are just like three things that if we could just get them. And then we have to encourage young people that walking away is a strength. It's not weakness.
Yes.
Right now, our kids believe that, no, you got to stand up, man. You got to fight. You got to get physical with somebody. Walking away is a strength. And I guarantee you that 90% of our young people never heard that same statement right there.
Amazing. Does listening and hearing have a lot to do with resolving issues?
Well, yes, and I tell you why. You know, if you learn to listen, you're going to be a problem solver, and that's what the other three things that I normally talk about in this, and I just explained to you. If you're going to be a problem solver, the first thing you have to do is use self-examination.
Wow. Take
a look at yourself. How do I react to certain things? You know, how do I react when I'm angry? Do I really, can people really see when I'm angry? Look at yourself. What are my likes? What are my dislikes? What will I take? What did I not take? Right? Then the second one, which is the most difficult, is being able to exchange position with the other side. Give the same circumstance and the same conditions, you know what I mean? Yeah. Step across the line, say, you know, what would I have done the same thing? Would I have killed somebody for the same thing? And last, you just said to talk about listening leads me to listening exercise, because we do a lot of teaching on listening all the time. That's almost the first topic we use in doing it, because if you learn to listen, you're going to be able to problem solve. God gave us what? God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that ought to tell us that we should be able to listen more than we talk.
Absolutely.
Just one illustration about the conflict resolution. My son and I went to Rikers Island several years ago just to give them a short class on anger management, right? And they did a 4-hour class on anger management at Rikers Island in New York. And guess what? At the end of the program, one guy came over to us. He said, you know, Mr. Brown said, we really enjoyed your teaching on anger management, you know. He said, but you know what happened to me while I'm here? I got life. He says, he dissed me and I killed him.
Oh, wow.
He said, I never heard of anybody talking about anger management.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So we have a lot to do in educating people about conflict resolution, about anger management, because in the program that we do, we teach anger management to probably as the second part of the program. After listen, we teach anger management so people will learn how to deal with that, you know. And the hardest thing to do is deal with anger. But if you never had any training on how to deal with anger, you never had any training on conflict resolution, you're going to go with what you know best. If somebody doing something to you, you kill them.
Ooh, wow, that is extreme. Can you tell us, Dr. Brown, how to create a good working atmosphere? You know, in the workplace, I'm sure there are a lot of conflicts. I'm sure there are a lot of things that you had to come in and mediate. What makes a good working atmosphere? Does it start with leadership?
Well, it started with leadership in a sense, but what happened is in the world, you know, that was one time in our world wherein you went to work and you were relegated to one thing because of the lack of education that you had. But today you have people with a college degree working in automobile factories, working in places, working in manufacturing plants, because even though I have a degree, they can make more money driving a truck. All right. So what happened though is that they have this kind of skill and they're never able to utilize the skills they have. So one of the things in the program that we do, we bring labor and management together, or we bring community together. And you have people sit down and start and say, well, okay, what's the problem? And then you let people define the problem, and then they are charged in small groups is resolving the problem. Now, what does that do? It brings them into the arena. It gives them to use the skills that they have and the skills that they know, and it helps. The places we've done these kind of programs, the as we call it, the productivity rate increased by 30 and 40%.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Let's talk about cyberspace and conflict. It's so easy to get into conflict right online with strangers. I know your advice would be stay off of those platforms and things, but it's just like, I don't know, have you noticed that some of these platforms just breed conflict, and they say people are more anxious. They say, you know, children are on there and they suffer from depression. What can we do to kind of like know that some of these things that we are, even though it's technology, it's pretty problematic when it comes to conflict?
Well, I think that the one thing about the cell phones and so on, it's very, very difficult because people create conflict on the telephone. They can say things to people that they wouldn't say in person, or they can spread rumors about people, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I often teach this: it's 5 companions that one must learn to live with. And if we could just stress these, I'm going to go through these things real quickly here. 5 companions that one must learn to live with. The first one, that you must learn to live with yourself.
Yes.
Whatever you do, it is going to always come back to you. People have to know that when I do someone wrong, I never know where I'm going to see them again.
Yes.
And never know what the circumstances might be, seeing them again. But do that in terms of self-examination, is to look at yourself first.
Yes.
All right. And the second thing we have to teach people, they must learn to live with others. You cannot live in the world alone.
Yes.
You have to live with others. The third thing is people have to learn to live with challenges.
Yes.
Every single day you wake up, it's going to be a different challenge. And sometimes we think, oh my God, that's the end of the world. But we have to learn to live with challenges. And the fourth one is we have to learn to live with change. The world is changing at such a rapid pace now until it's changing more than we can keep up with the change. But change is real, and change is coming. And with all the technology now, based on what it was 50 years ago and what it is now, so much change is coming. And one of the things that we have done too, we do teach change too, how to change management. That in the analysis, when you do change management, we found that 90% of the change is good. Okay. So change is here to stay. It's going to be here. So we have to learn to live with that. And then we have to learn, especially with young people, teach them about choices they make now.
Yes.
They make choices now, they're going to have an adverse effect on them for the rest of their life. We have to teach them. They don't know that they make a bad choice now, what it's going to do to them 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And then, of course, the last one is learning to resolve conflict. That's number 6. So those are the kind of things that you have to put together in workplaces and every place else. Because, in workplace, everybody learn after they get to know each other. They work together. And so they have to look at these 6 things they have to do that they must learn to live with. If they learn to live with 3 of them, then I think we made a lot of progress.
Is there any situation or mediation that stands out that you just smile about and know that it was so successful?
Yeah, the entire mediation process is 97% effective. If the mediation, if people buy into the whole process, it works. So, but I've had long strikes, sometimes months, and I had one long strike in New York with UPS and the local there. They was on strike for 13 weeks. It became almost like something international because people in New York, they have such small shops, they cannot have a big shop. So they depended on UPS to deliver the goods. I mean, from the president down to senators and everybody else was involved in that. But we finally got it after UPS threatened to close at New York down. We was able to get them together, and I still look at that and I still smile at the plaque they gave me for being able to help resolve that dispute.
Wow, that is amazing. When I met you, Dr. Brown, I've heard of conflict resolution, but I never knew a mediator, anybody that really could get in there and really solve problems like that. I thought it was marvelous. You mediate for companies, businesses, and personal people in relationships. Tell us a little bit about the process of trying to get people to, or couples, or families to get back in the right place with one another. Tell us how those mediations play out?
Well, you know, I said this to somebody before that our company is a universal company. Anything that has to do with conflict resolution, we're able to deal with it. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that's important and why there's such a real serious need for conflict resolution, 51% of the people who get married this year will end up in divorce.
Wow.
And why do they end up in divorce? Because they can't resolve simple problems. They lack communication skills. And when the lights go out and everything go down, the first thing they do, and I'm sure how silly that is in a sense, you know what I mean? In most cases, when individuals get a divorce, they might have 1 or 2 kids with that family, and they get another family, they might have 1, 2, or 3 kids with that. They're never going to get out of the hole. You know what I mean? So economically, you know what I mean? It pays to resolve disputes. And I have had disputes with professors, or husband and wives, or community people, all these things. As a matter of fact, when I was in Elizabeth City, you know, the alumni boycotted the hotels and all the business one year because of homecoming. The hotels were gouging for people who came in just for that weekend. And so the alumni got tired of it. So they essentially went on strike and they didn't do it, you know? So I was able to get involved with them and resolve that kind of dispute because it was affecting the entire community, the restaurants, and everybody else was being affected by it. But I volunteered to do that for them, you know, to resolve that dispute, and it worked out fine. And they never had the problem. That's been 12, 15 years ago. Never had it again. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Now, Dr. Brown, you got to tell us what's going on right now. Have you been back to Elizabeth City? What programs are you working on now?
Well, I'm working on, I haven't been doing a lot because my wife has been ill and I haven't been able to get there. But we had a great unity project in Elizabeth City where we brought the community together. They have, you know, I don't know if you know it or not, but they have 2 colleges and 1 university in Elizabeth City. We brought them together. We brought the politicians together. We brought the community together. We brought Black folks together, white folks together. And we spent 2 days talking about what the problem is. And they came up with resolutions. And I wish I could show those things to you, things we came up with coming out of that, you know. But you have to find the right setting, the right place, and the right temperament for people who want to resolve disputes. You know, sometimes people don't want to resolve disputes. Sometimes there are people who thrive on conflict. No matter what you do, they're not in until something is going on wrong. But I believe that the kind of program that we did in Elizabeth City, I keep telling them that they are small enough and smart enough to be the best city in the country. And so now I'm working here in Delaware because I live in a small part in Dover. It's not a large place, but by the same token, I've kind of kicked off some programs here on conflict resolution. And we're trying to do one thing because my lifetime goal is to get conflict resolution as part of the school curriculum.
Wow.
That's the only way we're going to start to rebuild people. If young kids start to learn how to resolve conflict, and we have things called a peer mediation program where we teach young kids how to mediate, and they mediate the dispute with their peers.
Oh, great. Now that's amazing. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you are still about good business and doing great things. We are very proud of you. I love having you on the show. Please tell others, because I have the books. Tell folks where they can get your books.
All right, just all you do is email. I'm just saying, number one, it's on Amazon. Number 2, if you want to get it personally with a signature, HEZ38@AOL.com, or either call me at 516-815-8679, and we'll get it to you.
It's been a joy talking with you. We have folk on saying hello: Jay Baker, Joseph Williams, Cynthia Giles. We have folk on Instagram, Kiki, that's me, 80 joined, and a lot more others saying hello to you, Dr. Brown. You know, we wish you all the success, love to the family, your wife and children, everybody, and look forward to speaking with you again on these matters and other things as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. God bless you. Have a good evening.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Wow, we've been talking to Dr. Hezekiah Brown. He was our special guest. And it's just a joy to have him be a part of what we're doing on FYI. He's been on FYI Radio Morning Show Live. And he's our special guest this evening on FYI After Dark, talking about reparations, something that a lot of us don't know a lot about. You know, we've heard of 40 acres and a mule, you know, we've heard that. But we don't really know what it looks like. And it's great to have somebody to educate us on, you know, reparations and the case for it. And the fact that, hey, we want at least an apology. You know what I'm saying? Some people are just waiting for an apology. They want to know, hey, why did this happen to us? Why did you do this to us? Why do you try to keep us down? Why did we have to work as slaves? You know, people want to know why. You know, believe it or not, even though slavery happened a long time ago, we as people and African-American people now still say, what was that? And why can't we get what is due to us for the labor and the pain that we have gone through in this country? And so I love the book. You all get the book. He said it's on Amazon, The Case for Reparations. And then we talked about conflict. Conflict, oh my goodness, how can you avoid conflict? I don't think you can. But Dr. Brown said you sure can solve it. There are tools that you can use to make sure, you know, everybody comes out, you know, win-win. And that's the thing. You know we're not going to agree on everything, but we want to be, you know, we want to be able to say, okay, I get you, or I get this, or yeah, okay. And then there are times where we can't, you know, we will not agree. We just, you know, have to agree to disagree at times, you know, as well. But to live peacefully with one another. It is a lot of conflict. There's conflict now all over the world. Conflict in high places that's affecting us here. The everyday person. It's just a lot going on, and so we want to make sure we are educated and make sure we have tools to be able to figure things out. And so these two books, The Case for Reparation by Dr. Hezekiah Brown and Conflict Resolution, you can get those books, and you can, you know, better learn how to, you know, talk to people and work in the workplace, and, you know, interpersonal relationships become better. And also you can see what's due to us and how you can take advantage of some great things, or how you can become all you can be by knowing who you are and holding on to our history, or just being a better person and going toward better things. You know, these books will help you to really realize who you are. And so we want to thank Dr. Hezekiah Brown again for being with us. We want you to make sure you visit our sponsors. Our sponsors are Bulvic, and it is BULVIC, BulvicAcademy.com. And our other sponsor is Beard Gods, BEARDGODZ.com. Make sure you go to the websites, check it out, and see the wonderful things that's on Beard Gods. Chris Hinton is the owner, and he has a lot of wonderful products for you, for your beards, for your hair. He has shampoos, conditioners. He has vitamins. He has picks and combs and things. He has hoodies and hats. All kinds of things that can help you, balms and oils that can help you look good and stay well groomed. He has a special going on for Valentine's Day, and just go to the website, beardgods.com, BEARDGODZ.com. And families, he was talking about families and children and education. Please go to Bulvic Academy, BULVIC Academy.com, talking about conflict and talking about bullying and talking about ways to teach our children how to be strong. You know, we talk about the bystander, the bully, and the victim. And we have tools, we have books, we have blogs talking about some things that parents need to know when we talk about bullying, what it is and why it is. And also their games, Bulvic the Game, BULVIC is there. It's also on Google Play and it's on Android. It's on Apple as well. You can get it from the website, bulvicacademy.com, or you can go to those platforms and get it as well. I tell you what, I am excited. Things, so many things are happening, but God is still on the throne and he's still a light for all of us. And we still can get through this life. We can teach our children. I heard somebody just recently talking about Black History Month, and we celebrate Black history in this month, but we celebrate ourselves all the time. And somebody said, I don't care about Black history. I don't think that, we should have it, this, that, and the other. Listen, when people are talking like that, go home to your family and say, look, let's sit down. Let's talk about our people. Let's talk about how far they have come. Let's talk about things that they have invented and things that they have done, great things that they have done in their life, and all the things that they have brought forth. It's a lot. It's a lot, and things that we definitely should be proud of. We should be proud of ourselves and how far we have come. But the fight is not over, y'all. We got still a lot of living, a lot of teaching. And so during this month, make sure you talk to your children and to your other neighbors' children and to your friends and relatives. Make sure you teach other races who we are. You can show them, but you can also tell them, who are we? Who are we as African American people? Check out our history. See how far we have come. See our accomplishments. See what it takes to be strong, and see what it takes to stay in the fight. Dr. Hezekiah Brown said something about building families back because families were torn down. Let's build families. Let's teach our children every day, even throughout this month, just teach them how to rebuild, how to look for a brighter future and have hope, for better days. Don't give up on the vote. I want to encourage, we did this for African American women, what they were thinking and how they felt after. Don't give up. Don't give up on the fight. Continue to fight. That's how we got to where we are. Continue doing what we need to do to keep ourselves whole and maintain our lives and to have that dream. People talk about the American dream. Hey, you can have the dream that you see for yourself and your family. You can have the education that you want. You can live wherever you want. You can be whatever you want. Don't let anyone take that away. Well, they're taking away the program, but they're not taking away nothing. They don't take your ability to see God and to see light, period. They can't take that away from you. They can't take the dream out of your head. They can't do it. And so make sure you teach your children that. Make sure you get the family together and build that family back. And then make sure you build your businesses and the talent. See, God gives everybody gifts and talents. And so we can prosper off the things that God has given us. It's in us. And so use these things to be better, to do better. Look, support great organizations, support after school programs, support people that are out here doing great things that need your assistance and your resources. Just let's support one another, build one another, help one another, love one another, forgive one another, and let's work at being better. I want to thank you all for joining us. You all are a blessing. Thank you so much for your support. We're going to be back here on next Monday evening. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about immigration on some of our shows, you know, with ICE and all this stuff going on, and Mexico and all these things about, you know, those that are illegal or legal. We're going to talk about that. And we're just going to have folk up here to bring information on how we can, you know, learn more about it and what it's going to take to resolve some of these problems that we're having when it comes to immigration. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 9:30 a.m. FYI radio show live. Don't forget to join us on Wednesday. We have What's Under the Hat, issues concerning men, on our Wednesdays at 9:30. And we also on Fridays, we do a little breaking news, serving DAC tea, and issues concerning our women. What's in your closet? We just have a lot of wonderful shows for you all. Make sure you join us. That's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Peace 95.3 FM, WGPL 1350, WPCE 1400, WMPA 88.9 FM, Facebook Live, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. We're here. That's right. And we're glad that you're here with us. Look, be blessed. We'll see you back on Wednesday. Bye now.